Political theory. Let's be honest. It sounds kind of heavy, right? Academic, maybe a little intimidating. But what if I told you it's actually one of the most essential tools we have for understanding our world, our governments, and even ourselves? Stick around, because we're going to break it all down.
So what is this thing, really? Is it history, digging through the past? Is it philosophy, wrestling with huge moral questions? Or is it a science, trying to be all objective about how people behave? Well, what if I told you the answer is all of the above? And that's the puzzle we're going to unpack right now. Okay, let's jump in. Here's the game plan. We'll start with what it is, then we'll look at it through 3 different lenses: history, philosophy, and science. And then we'll wrap up by talking about why any of this actually matters in the real world. Sound good? Let's go.
Okay, so first up, before we get into the weeds, we gotta get a handle on what we're even talking about. Let's lay down a solid foundation.
Okay, so check out this definition from David Held. What I love here is that word network. He doesn't say it's just one big idea. No, it's a network. Think of it like a giant spider web, you know? It connects all these huge concepts like government, society, what it means to be human, and it weaves them all together so we can actually make sense of our political world.
And hey, if that last one felt a little academic, don't worry. George Sabine brings it right back down to earth. At its heart, it's really just about thinking about politics in a disciplined way. It's the big difference between, just having a hot take and actually having a real framework to analyze what's going on.
All right, this next part, this is the core idea of our whole conversation. The best way, I think, to really get political theory is to imagine it as a toolkit. And in this toolkit, you've got 3 amazing lenses that let you see politics from totally different and totally essential angles. And this right here is so important. A political theorist isn't just one thing. They have to be part historian, part philosopher, and part scientist. And these aren't separate hats they put on and take off. No way. They wear all 3 at once. They're all woven together into one super powerful way of looking at the world. And boom, here they are, our 3 lenses. First, you've got the history lens. That's all about understanding the context, the roots of ideas, the what was. Then you switch to the philosophy lens. This is where you explore the big questions about values and morals, the what ought to be. And finally, you've got the science lens, which is all about analyzing how things actually work on the ground, the how it works. Let's try looking through each one, shall we?
All right, let's grab our first lens, the historical one. We're gonna see why you absolutely cannot understand today without first understanding yesterday.
Man, I love this quote. It's so true, right? Political ideas don't just pop out of thin air. They have deep roots. They grow out of the soil of a very specific time and a very specific place. History is that soil. Trying to understand an idea without its history, it's like looking at a cut flower and having no idea what kind of plant it came from. And this is a fantastic example of what I'm talking about. Just take the word communism. On one side, you've got Plato, back in ancient Greece. His idea of communism was for a tiny elite group of rulers, and the whole point was to create a perfectly just and ethical society. Now, jump forward a couple thousand years to Karl Marx. His communism? It's a direct response to the Industrial Revolution, to class struggle, to factories and capitalism. It's the same word, but they're talking about 2 completely wildly different things. Why? Because the historical context is everything.
Okay, time to switch lenses. Let's put down the history one and pick up the philosophical one. This lens shifts our focus. It's not about what was or what is anymore. Now we're asking what should be. This is where we get into the big, juicy questions about values.
And here's the key difference with this lens. It's not just about describing things. It's prescriptive. It's a quest. As Leo Strauss says, it's an attempt to truly know what makes a political order right or good. It's not just about facts. It's a search for wisdom.
And just to be clear, this isn't just about shouting your opinion. It's the total opposite. It's about building a solid, rational case for your political values. It's about moving past your gut feelings or what you've always heard and trying to replace those assumptions with real knowledge about what makes a society just. Okay, let's grab our third and final lens, the scientific one. This is the part of political theory that tries to take a step back, to be as objective as possible, and to analyze politics not as we wish it was, but exactly as it is.
So the whole goal here is to be neutral, dispassionate, and objective, to strip away all the bias and just look for the data, for the patterns. It's about asking questions like, why do people actually vote the way they do, and trying to answer with hard evidence. A great example is election polling, right?
Political scientists don't just guess. They look at demographic data, survey answers, voting history, all to build models that try to explain and even predict how people will behave. That's the science lens in action.
But, and this is a really, really big but, studying politics is not like studying physics. I mean, the law of gravity doesn't care if you believe in it, right? It just is. But political systems, they're totally different. They only exist because of what we humans think and do. And here's the kicker. When we learn about how these systems work, we can actively decide to change them. We aren't just watching the experiment from the outside, we are the experiment.
And it's interesting, over history, the focus has really shifted. Way back in the classical era with thinkers like Plato, it was all about philosophy and ethics. Then you get to the modern era, and there was this huge swing towards science and data. And where are we now? Well, today, it's really about bringing it all together, a synthesis. We recognize you can't get the full picture without all three lenses: history, philosophy, and science. All right, so this brings us to the big question. So what? Why does any of this matter? Well, let's talk about the payoff, because this isn't just some dusty academic topic. These ideas are powerful forces that are shaping your world right now.
I absolutely love this quote from C. Wright Mills because it's so real. It reminds us that political theories aren't clean, neat little things. They're messy. They're where we find our highest ideals, like justice and liberty, but they're also where you find propaganda and slogans. They are, for real, the intellectual battleground where our societies get built.
And Mills breaks it down for us with these 4 functions. A political theory can be an ideology, the story that tells us a government is legit or that it needs to be overthrown. It's an ethic. It gives us a moral yardstick to measure events. It's a strategy, a playbook for how to get things done. And finally, it's a grand theory of society. It's like a map that tells us where we are and where we might be heading.
So at the end of the day, political theory isn't a passive thing. It's not about just describing the world from a distance. It's an active, powerful force. It's a tool that lets us explain, understand, evaluate, and ultimately, it gives us the power to change things.
And that's really what it all comes down to. Political theory isn't just for academics in ivory towers. It's a toolkit, a powerful one. It's available to every single one of us to help us understand, to judge, and maybe to change the world. So the real question isn't what is political theory? The real question is, how are you going to use it?